Wiltfong Whiparound with our Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong, who is also out in LA. So let's start with where you are, Steve. Elite 11 finals. While most of the quarterbacks in attendance are committed, a lot of the guys we talked about in the previous segment, but there are two that are still mulling their college decision. You've got Elijah Brown and Trevor Jackson. So where do things stand with their respective recruitments?
Well, let's start with Elijah Brown, the number 3 quarterback in the 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings. He's down to 2 schools, Stanford and UCLA. And when he checked in yesterday, he told me he's closing in on the decision. I wouldn't be surprised if something happens next week. My colleague Greg Biggins and I, we like where Stanford stands. He took an official visit to see the Cardinal program the first weekend of June. Stanford has the number 10 ranked recruiting class in the country right now. Elijah Brown's their top target at the position. UCLA also got an official in May. Loves Chip Kelly, loves that offense, but I think Stanford has the momentum right now. And then Trevor Jackson, the rail shot winner from last night, had a fantastic finish to the first day of the Elite 11 finals. First workout, 3 schools, Pitt, Texas A&M, and Missouri standing out to him. Missouri got a quarterback commitment today from a talented kid, Aiden Glover. So I think that leaves you Pitt and Texas A&M right now. And I would say that Texas A&M has the momentum. He grew up a huge fan of Jimbo Fisher, called him his dream coach, visited Texas A&M this past weekend, got a chance to camp there, work with Coach Petrino, work with Coach Fisher, and I think it's the Aggies that have the momentum. But he did have a great official visit to Pitt the first weekend of June. Pitt is hot on the recruiting trail right now as they push for a top 10 class here in the summer. And I wouldn't sleep on the Panthers. And with the way that he's performing here in Los Angeles, we would not be surprised if more schools jump into the mix. Miami's a school that's recently elevated the dialogue.
And we've certainly seen that happen before, post-Elite 11, get some of that recruiting bump there. Ohio State commit Aaron Nolan is there. We talked about him, as well as his future teammate and 5-star wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. He is there, of course, catching passes. His recruitment has been making headlines as many schools continue to try to flip him. But you actually talked to Smith. So what did he tell you?
Yeah, I think that it's going to take a lot for another school to flip Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. He said that they're going to have to prove that they can develop him into a first-round draft pick because he knows that Ohio State can develop him into a first-round draft pick. And on his official visit this past weekend, he got a chance to spend a lot of time with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Julian Fleming and talk about their situation at Ohio State, talk about the offense this coming year and the excitement around the program. And I think that Ohio State continues to set the bar in this recruitment. Florida is another program that he likes. Recently took an official visit there. Billy Napier told him that him and DJ Lagway can turn Gainesville back into what it used to be. I also think he believes he can be developed by Coach Billy Napier. Georgia's the 3rd team in the mix, and he's got upcoming trips to Florida State, Miami, and Penn State. But again, I think it's going to take a lot to flip the number 1 receiver from Ohio State.
Steve, I'm used to, you having both hands free for double thumbs up, but you've got one hand. Can you remind the people what they need to do? Hit that like button. There we go. I love it. Yes, make sure you smash that like button if you are enjoying our coverage of the Elite 11 finals. Let's continue with some of these questions, though. You also had a conversation with top 247 athlete Jojo Trader. He is the number 3 athlete in the country, currently being pursued by Florida, Florida State, Ohio State, Georgia, a lot of other schools. So what did he tell you about his recruiting process as it stands now?
Well, Miami's the 24/7 Sports crystal ball favorite for Jojo Trader, and he loves what Mario Cristobal and that staff are doing and the amount of communication he has with them and obviously proximity to home. But his best relationship is with Brian Hartline at Ohio State. And I think that Ohio State remains one of the major contenders for Jojo Trader as well. His recruitment is going to go the distance. He has not set up any official visits right now. He did visit Florida State this past weekend and raved about Coach Mike Norvell and his program. He also has interest in Florida and Georgia. But I think the Ohio State is the biggest challenger to Miami right now to ultimately land Jojo Trader. This is a young man I think we're going to be talking about a lot in November and December, Emily.
All right, a little preview there. It's a good thing that LA is a very large city because it's also playing host to the overtime OT7 finals this weekend, and you had a chance to pop over there too. So in addition to watching some good football, we're also expecting a commitment from 3-star athlete Amarian Stewart. That's happening tomorrow. Michigan leads in the crystal ball right now, but what can you tell us ahead of this decision?
Well, he took a couple of official visits recently, Wisconsin and Michigan, and I think the Maize and Blue, who have the 24/7 Sports #2 ranked recruiting class, are the team to beat going into his decision. He's been to Ann Arbor several times, has really hit it off with Coach Ron Bellamy and that Michigan coaching staff, and feels very comfortable with that program and the success that they've had. But Luke Fickell and the Wisconsin staff, they were on him hard when they were at Cincinnati, and that carried over to Madison, and he got a chance to visit them a couple times. So Wisconsin has given him a lot to think about. But I like the Maize and Blue, the Michigan Wolverines, for Marion Stewart.
All right. These events are, of course, fun, but it is still June, which means that the visit weekends keep on rolling. You've got a lot on your plate right now. We appreciate you updating us on all of it. So let's start in Norman for the Champ U Barbecue. Two of their top targets will be on campus, including 5-star defensive lineman David Stone and the #1 running back in Taylor Tatum. So where do the Sooners stand with these two blue chippers?
Well, Oklahoma comes into the weekend, Emily, with the nation's number 44 ranked recruiting class. It was number 4 last year. And if they're going to make a run into the top 10 this year, the Champ U Barbecue is going to have a big impact on that. A lot of Oklahoma alum are going to return to Norman. There's going to be a lot of fast cars on the football field. It's just a lot of great energy in this event. David Stone, he's obviously from Oklahoma. The crystal ball favors the Sooners right now in this recruitment. He loves Coach Todd Bates. Loves Coach Brent Venables and the culture that they're instilling in Oklahoma. He says that they're quickly going to be a contender again under this new staff. But there are other contenders in the recruitment for David Stone. He was recently at Miami again. He's visited them several times. Oregon is a contender. Texas A&M is in the mix. The Florida Gators, he's had a few great visits to Florida this calendar year. So Oklahoma looking to continue to re-solidify themselves as one of the teams to beat with David Stone this weekend. And then Taylor Tatum, a lot of momentum around USC right now, a lot of momentum around the Trojans on the trail. As you know, Emily, Taylor Tatum, one of the guys that they're trending for. But Oklahoma is their main competition, in my opinion. DeMarco Murray's done a fantastic job recruiting him and his family. He likes Coach Jeff Lebby in the offense in Norman, and he's talked about Jackson Arnold being one of the best quarterbacks in college football for years to come. So a lot of enticing things about Oklahoma for Taylor Tatum coming into the weekend.
Looking forward to a recap of that weekend, hopefully including what food was served. Let's move on to fellow future SEC foe Texas, also set up for a big visit weekend. Two guys we're looking at there are 4-star wide receiver Aaron Hampton and a high 3-star running back Christian Clark out of Phoenix. So what is the latest in the Longhorns' pursuit of both Clark and Hampton?
Well, Texas has over 20 official visitors, so you're going to want to be locked into Horns 247 and 24/7 Sports for post-visit reaction. But these are two guys I'm very interested in regarding Texas coming into the weekend because of the Longhorns' positions for both. With Christian Clark, I think the Longhorns are the one to beat. And we've talked a lot on this show about Jarrett Gibson and Texas's position with the blue chip back out of IMG Academy, but they want to sign two, and these are their two favorite backs in the class. Christian Clark out of the state of Arizona, been to Austin in the past, great relationship with Tashard Choice, and spoke with a source close to him today. And I still like Texas's position. Now, Oregon is the other program I'm watching closely in that recruitment, with Florida State and Georgia rounding out what I believe to be the top 4. And then Aaron Hampton, a one-time Texas commit. He has the Longhorns in his final 2 alongside Alabama, was back at Alabama last weekend. Alabama's probably led the majority of the last 4 or 5 months for him. But talking to him recently, he said it's 50-50, and Texas working hard to get him back in the fold. He's one of the state's best two-way players over the last couple years, a dynamic guy with the ball in his hands. He'd be scary to watch in Steve Sarkisian's offense, and this is a big visit for Texas as they try and close out one of the state's best.
We've got some more questions here. Michael asking, any surprise to see the top names falling in the rail shot challenge? I got to hear more about this.
No, I think it's a pretty subjective deal on the judging out there, and it's just a fun way to end the camp. I don't think it. Dylan Raiola was our top ranked performer of the evening at the Elite 11 finals for practice 1, and he was one of the first ones out in the rail shot challenge. It did have an exciting finish though there with Hoss Haney, Ethan Grunkemeyer, and Trevor Jackson matching each other throw for throw over the last 3 or 4 rounds. There was some electricity in the air there, and Trevor Jackson winning at the end there was fun to watch. But the rail shot challenge is just one of hundreds of throws that these young men made last night.
And hundreds more that they will be making today. Okay, Cole is asking, how has Daniel Kalin been doing out there at Elite 11?
You know, we gave him some love on the 24/7 Sports recap video that you can watch on this channel. Cooper Patagna highlighted Daniel Kalin and his performance, and I thought that he showed a lot of potential. You know, he's a guy that can really throw the football, has the arm talent. He's a super smart kid now, too, Emily. Perfect IQ score. Get him on the chalkboard. He's fantastic in that role. And he told me when he checked in, he's visited Nebraska at least once a week since he committed to the Huskers, sometimes multiple times. He got a chance to camp with Matt Rule and company recently, and he's continuing to get to know the coaching staff, recruiting hard for Nebraska. He's excited to be here, and he's certainly holding his own.
Yeah, really impressive pivot by Matt Rule and company after missing out on Raiola. Seems like he is all Nebraska. Visits every single week. That's impressive. Okay, Hannah asking, Steve, how are you feeling about Elijah Rushing and Gatlin Bear at Oregon this weekend?
My friend Hannah Glenn asking about two of Oregon's top targets as the Ducks try and maintain a top 10 recruiting class. Elijah Rushing fresh off an official visit to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is one of the schools near the top of his list, but I love where Oregon stands coming into this visit. He was there back in the spring, loves what Coach Lanning and his pedigree, what he brings to this program, all the championship level coaches on the defensive side of the ball, defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoy. Oregon's doing a fantastic job here. I think they're one of the teams to beat coming into this official visit. And I would imagine coming out the other side, there's going to be a lot of positive buzz for Elijah Rushing. Gatlin Bear, fresh off a visit to TCU. Michigan's in there, but Oregon with their track program, this is the fastest kid in the country. I assume that it's going to be an exciting visit for him as he gets up to Eugene, track capital USA, a football program on the rise, trying to reinvent their receiver room. This is a guy that Oregon is in the middle of it for.
Definitely a 2-for-1 deal there with the historic track program there at Oregon. Our next question comes from Andrew M. Steve, do you see both Bryce West and Aaron Scott ending up at Ohio State?
Well, right now, my 24/7 Sports crystal ball favors Ohio State for both of them. Bryce West is actually out here at the Elite 11 finals. Spoke to him yesterday, and he said it could go either way for him. He just had a great official visit to Michigan where he loves the way the coaching staff handles the team on the field and in the locker room, the way the players communicate with the coaches and the coaches communicate with the players. Certainly he likes the on-field results. He's been to Ann Arbor a bunch of times and has really clicked with the recruits. But Ohio State, his relationship with Coach Walton and just the Glenville pipeline they've had there. Now, Michigan certainly had some success with Glenville, too. But Ohio State is a program that he grew up pulling for, has a great relationship with. So I would probably still give the edge to Ohio State till someone tells me differently. Aaron Scott's at Michigan this weekend. Major official visit. He's one of their top remaining targets, number 2 class in America. And we've said it on the show countless times. Do not sleep on Michigan. There are people around Aaron Scott that believe that Michigan is the team to beat coming into this visit. And talking to Aaron Scott over the last couple weeks, he's coming into this visit to see if this is the place for him. Like, does he feel it in his gut that he should go to Michigan? Coach Klink and that coaching staff have done a fantastic job recruiting him. They've done a fantastic job recruiting Ohio. And I could very much see Aaron Scott at Michigan just as much as I could see him at Ohio State right now.
And with all the intel you have to gather, now you have to sense where somebody's gut is on a commitment. So we'll see what happens there.